Fuel, air, and spark. The motorsports trifecta. Not getting enough spark? Well, just call me the spark plug. Roll the intro. That's right, guys. Today we're going to be looking at spark plugs, why they're so important, and what options we have for you. So in case you've been living under a rock and you don't know what a spark plug is, it's this little guy. And these guys have a very important task. They're responsible for producing the spark to ignite the air-fuel mixture within the combustion chamber. Now, your gap, insulator, core, and ground electrodes are going to vary with every build. What, did I confuse you with all that? All right, let's break it down. All right, first of all, gap. Gap is going to be the amount of space that you have between the core electrode, which is that piece of metal right there that goes all throughout the entire spark plug, and the ground electrode, which is this metal arm right here. The spark is created between those two. Now the gap is going to vary between every motor, manufacturer, etc. So pay attention to that and do your research if you don't know what you're doing. The insulation makes a plug either colder or hotter. Cold plugs have less insulation and dissipate more heat from the combustion chamber. Hot plugs have more insulation, which keep temperatures high enough to burn all of the carbon deposits off of them. The core can be either copper, platinum, or iridium. Copper is going to be the one that lasts the longest and conducts a great amount of electricity, or spark in this case. The platinum plugs are going to last a little bit longer than copper, but don't conduct as much electricity. The iridium plugs are the gold mine. Iridium plugs are going to last 25% longer than double platinum plugs and are going to be the most conductive as well. Keep in mind that iridium plugs are going to cost quite a bit more than the other two. For my car, for example, on the ZL1, they're about 13 bucks each depending on which brand I go with. Don't cheap out on this. This is very important for creating a good burn in your internal combustion motor. The electrodes consist of two parts, the core electrode and the ground electrode. The core electrode is that piece of metal that runs all throughout the spark plug. The ground electrode is going to be this little arm. Now, sometimes you'll have different spark plugs that have multiple ground electrodes and some that even have a crown on top. On the types of builds that we work on here at Lethal Performance, that being of the big three, Ford, Chevy, and Dodge, you're going to want to deal with iridium plugs and a single ground electrode. That's the typical standard. What you're going to want to focus on is the heat range and the gap. Most of the time, gap is going to be specified by the original equipment manufacturer, and it's important to stick to that. Unless you have a fully built custom motor, then I'd pay attention to what the builder recommends. Heat range is the thermal capacity of a spark plug, and it ranges on a scale from 2 to 11, 2 being the hottest, 11 being the coldest. The lower you go, closer to 2, the more heat that's allowed into the head of the internal combustion motor. The higher you go, or the coldest, is the less heat that is allowed into the head. On more NA or high compression applications, you're going to want to stick to somewhere around the range of 4, 5, and sometimes even 6. On big power or higher boost applications, you're definitely going to want to venture off into 6 onward. Here we have two different examples of spark plugs on two different steps of the heat range. This is going to be an NGK TR6 and this is going to be an NGK TR7. If somebody says they went a one-step colder plug, typically that means that they went from like a 5 to a 6, for example, or a 6 to a 7. We don't just carry NGK, we carry NGK, Delco, Denso, Brisk, a bunch of them. If you guys have any questions regarding spark plugs and what you should be using on your build, give us a shout, 561-753-8105, or send us an email at support@lethalperformance.com. I'm Pobs, thanks for sticking around, and I hope this sparked some of your attention. I gotta stop doing that. I really gotta stop doing it. Hot spark plugs